Hi, happy Thursday. Maybe. Ace is here. Half of my hair is up because it's still wet. And we are continuing to work our way through the Odyssey by Homer, allegedly. Let's just do book 11 today. Let's just do that. Okay, let's get into it. Book 11. At length we were at the shore where lay the ship. Promptly we launched her into the divine sea, stepped the mast, made sail and went, not forgetting the sheep, though our hearts were very low and big tears rained down from our eyes. Behind the dark proud vessel came a favorable wind, our welcomed wayfellow, whom we owed to Circe, the kind-spoken yet awesome goddess. So when each man had done his duty by the ship, we could sit and watch the wind, and the helmsman led us forward, day long, going steadily across the deep, our sails cracking full till sundown, and its darkness covered the sea's illimitable ways. I don't think we read this already, did we? I'm going to see how book 10 started. No, I don't think we did. It's just kind of same, but different. Yeah, no, we didn't. Okay, so sorry. Book 11. At length we were at shore where lay the ship. Promptly we launched her into the divine sea, stepped the mast, made sail and went, not forgetting the sheep, though our hearts were very low and big tears rained down from our eyes. Behind the dark proud vessel came a favorable wind, our welcomed wayfellow, whom we owed to Circe, the kind-spoken yet awesome goddess. So when each man had done his duty by the ship, we could sit and watch the wind, and the helmsman led us forward, day long, going steadily across the deep, our sails cracking full till sundown, and its darkness covered the sea's illimitable ways. We had attained earth's verge and its girdling river of ocean, where are the cloud-wrapped and misty confines of the Cimmerian men. For them, no flashing sun god shines down a living light, not in the morning when he climbs through the starry sky, nor yet at day's end when he rolls down from heaven behind the land. Instead, an endless deathful night has spread over its melancholy people. Book am I reading? The Odyssey by Homer. We beached the ship on that shore and put off our sheep. With them, we made our way up the strand of ocean till we came to the spot where Circe had described. There Pyramides and Eurylochus held the victims while I drew the keen blade from my hip to hollow that trench of a cubit square and a cubit deep. About it I poured the drink offerings to the congregation of the dead, a honey and milk draught first, sweet wine next, and water last of all, and I made a heave offering of our glistening barley, invoking the tenuous dead in general for my intention of a heifer not in calf, the best to be found in my manors when I got back to Ithaca, which should be slain to them and burnt there on a pyre fed high with treasure. While for Tiresias, apart, I vowed an all-black ram, the choicest male out of our flocks. After I had been thus instant in prayer to the populations of the grave, I took the 2 sheep and beheaded them across my pit in such a manner that the livid blood drained into it. From then out of Erebus they flocked me, the dead spirits of those who had died. Brides came and lads, old men and men of sad experience, tender girls aching from their first agony, and many fighting men showing the stabbed wounds of brazen spears, war victims still in their blooded arms. All thronged to the trench and ranged restlessly this side of it and that with an eerie wailing. Pale fear gripped me. Hastily, I called the others and bade them flay and burn with fire the sheep's bodies which lay there, slaughtered by my pitiless sword. They obeyed, conjuring without cease the gods, great Hades and terrible Persephone, while I sat over the pit, holding out my sharp weapon to forbid and prevent this shambling legion of the dead from approaching the blood till I had had my answer from Tiresias. The first I knew was the spirit of my fellow, Elpenor, whose body was not yet interred under the ample ground. We had left him unwept and unburied in the halls of Circe, for that these other labors came upon us urgently. When I saw him, I had compassion and sharply cried across to him, "Elpenor, how come you here into the gloomy shades? Your feet have been quicker than my ship." He in a thin wail answered me, Son of Laertes, ready Odysseus, the harsh verdict of some god sealed my doom, together with my own unspeakable excess in wine. I had lain down on Circe's housetop to sleep off this drunkenness, but awoke still too confused to descend from the roof by the long ladder. Instead, I plunged headlong over the parapet and broke my neck bone in its socket. Hence, my spirit has come down here to Hades. Yet I implore you, my lord, to remember me as you go past homeward, for of my sure knowledge your returning must be by Ea. My lord, I adjure you by those left behind, those not among us, by your wife, and by the father who cared for you when you were a little child, as by Telemachus, the babe you had to leave in your house alone. Do not abandon me unwept and unburied, lest I be the pawn to bring upon you God's wrath. But consume my body in fire, with those arms and armor which remain mine, and heap over the ashes a mound at the edge of the sea where the surf breaks white, for a token telling of an unhappy man to aftertime. And when the rites are completed, fix above my mound the oar that in life I pulled among my fellows. Hi. Thus he said, and I promised him, Luckless one, all these things will I see done exactly. So we two sat there, exchanging regrets, I with my sword held out stiffly across the blood pool, and the wraith of my follower beyond it, telling his tale. Then advanced the spirit of my mother who had died, even Anticlea, daughter of kindly Autolycus. I don't know if I've had to pronounce that one yet. I had left her alive when I started for the sacred city of Ilios, so now the sight of her melted my heart and made me weep with quick pain. Nevertheless, I would not let her near to touch the blood, for I awaited Tiresias to speak with me. And at last he came, the spirit of Theban Tiresias, gold scepter in hand. He knew me and said, Heaven-born Odysseus, what now? O son of misfortune, why leave the lambent sunshine for this joyless place, where only the dead are to be seen? Stand off from the pit and put up your threatening sword, that I may drink blood and declare you to words of truth. So he said, and I stepped back, thrusting my silver-hilted sword home into its scabbard, while he drank of the blackening blood. Then did the blameless seer begin to say, You come here, renowned Odysseus, in quest of a comfortable way home. I tell you the god will make your way hard. I tell you that your movements will not remain secret from the Earthshaker, whose heart is bitter against you for the hurt you did him in blinding the Cyclops, his loved son. Yet have you a chance of surviving to reach Ithaca, despite all obstacles, if you and your followers can master your greed in the island of Thrinacia, when your ship first puts in there for refuge from the lowering sea. For in that island you will find at pasture the oxen and wonderful sheep of Helios our son, who oversees and overhears all things. If you are so preoccupied about returning as to leave these beasts unhurt, then you may get back to Ithaca, very toil-worn after all. But if you meddle with them, then I certify the doom of your men and your ship. And though yourself may escape alive, it will not be till after many days, in a ship of strangers, alone and in sorry plight, that you win back, having suffered the loss of all your company. While in your house you shall find trouble awaiting you, even overbearing men who devour your substance on pretext of courting your worshipful wife and chafing about her marriage dues. Yet at your coming shall you visit their violence upon them fatally. After you have killed these suitors, either by cunning within the house, or publicly with the stark sword, then go forth under your shapely oar, till you come to a people who know not the sea, and eat their victuals unsavored with its salt, a people ignorant of purple-prowed ships, and of the smoothed and shaven oars, which are the wings of a ship's flying. I give you this token of them, a sign so plain that you cannot miss it. You have arrived when another wayfarer shall cross you, and say that on your doughy shoulder you shall bear the scatterer of homes, a winnowing fan. Then pitch in the earth your polished ore, and sacrifice goodly beasts to King Poseidon, a ram and a bull and a ramping boar. Afterward turn back, and at home offer hecatombs to the immortal gods who possess the broad plains of heaven, to all of them in this order as it is seemly. At the last, amidst a happy folk, shall your own death come to you, softly, far from the salt sea, and make an end of one utterly weary of slipping downward into old age. All these things that I relate are true. I know, all kinds of bots in there. So he prophesied, and I, answering, said, O Tiresias, surely these things are threads of destiny woven into the god's design. Yet tell to me one other thing. Before me is the ghost of my mother, dead. Lo there, how she crouches by the blood, and will not look upon me, nor address me one word. Tell me, king, how shall she know that I am her son? So I said, and he replied, A simple thing for my saying and your learning. Any of these ghosts of the dead, if you permit them to come near the blood, will tell you the truth, and to whomsoever you begrudge it, he shall go back away. The spirit of King Tiresias ended his soothsaying and departed to the house of Hades, but I remained firmly there, while my mother came up and drank of the storm blood. Then at once she knew me and wailed aloud, crying to me winged words, My child, what brings you to visit here, a quick man in the darkness of the shadow? It is sore travail for the living to see such things, because of the wide rivers and fearful waters that run between, especially ocean's flood that mortals cannot cross on foot, but only by ship, and a well-found ship. Are you still errant, you and your men from Troy? The time has been long, if you have not yet reached Ithaca, nor seen your wife in the house. No, you're not a bot. Not you, Snoopy Doopy. He's talking about Stingray 444. Not you. So she said, and I returned, My mother, I had no choice but to come down to Hades. I must needs consult the spirit of Theban Tiresias, inasmuch as I have not yet drawn nigh Achaea, not yet set foot upon my own land, but have strayed ever painfully from that day I followed great Agamemnon to fight the Trojans at Ilios of the fine horses. But tell me now plainly, by what fateful agency did death strike you down? Was it a slow disease, or did arrow-loving Artemis slay you with a stroke of her gentle darts? Inform me of the father and son I left. Is my position still safe in their keeping, or has a stranger assumed it on the rumor that I shall not return? Also of my wife, what is her mood and conduct? Does she abide by the child and guards all things as they were, or has she married some noble Achaean? My mother exclaimed, Why, she is ever in your house most patiently. The night drags through her heavily, and her days are wet with tears. Your fair position has not fallen to another. Telemachus holds the estate unchallenged, feasting amongst his peers at all such entertainments as magistrates may properly attend. He is invited everywhere. For your father, he nowadays dwells wholly in the country and does not come to town. Old age grows crankily upon him. He will not suffer for his own use any bed or couch, quilts or glossy blankets, nor aught but rags upon his body. In winter-time he sleeps at home as bondmen sleep, by the hearth and the ashes of the fire. But when the summer brings its rush of harvest tide, and all through his rich vine terraces the dead leaves are strewn for him in ground carpets, upon them will he lie distressfully, sighing for your return with the sorrow that ever waxes in his heart. Also my death and doom were of that sort. No archer goddess with piercing sight came upon me in that house and felled me with gentle arrows, nor any set disease, with a sorry wasting to drain the life from my limbs. Rather, it was my longing for you, your cunning ways, O my wonderful Odysseus, and your tenderness, which robbed me of the life that had been sweet. She ceased her say. While my heart pondered the word, a longing rose in me to take in my arms the spirit of my mother, though she were dead. Thrice I stepped toward her for an embrace, and thrice she slipped through my grasp like a shadow or a dream. The pain conceived in my heart grew very bitter, and I cried to her in piercing words, Mother mine, can you not abide the loving arms of one who yearns so sorely after you, that here, even in Hades, we may tearfully sate ourselves with icy, shuddering grief? Or are you some only phantasm which great Persephone has sent to increase the misery of my pain? So I said, but my mother lamented, Alas, my hapless child, here is no mockery from Persephone, daughter of Zeus. It is the common judgment upon all mortals when they die. Then the nerves will no more bind flesh and frame into one body, for the terrible intensity of searing fire subdues them till they vanish, as the quickening spirit vanishes from the white bones and the soul flies out to hover like a dream. Therefore, make your best speed back into daylight, noting all things as you go, for rehearsal hereafter to your wife. As we two asked and answered, the women arrived in multitude, famous Persephone having sent up all those who had been wives or daughters of great men. They eddied and thronged about the dark blood, while I was wondering how to get a word with each. The best plan seemed to draw the sharp-edged sword once again for my strong thigh, and with it prevent their drinking the blood in one rush. By my so doing, they came up singly, each declaring her origin, and I questioned them, one and all. The first was nobly born Tyro, who avouched herself daughter of pure Salmoneus and former wife of Crethus, Aeolus' son. She loved a river, the divine Enipeus, much the fairest of earth's streams. Wherefore she would haunt its reaches continually, till the god who shakes and girdles the earth put on the shape of Enipus and lay with her in the outpouring of the swift-eddying river. Round them a dark blue wave arched itself hugely, and bowed like a mountain wall to hide the god and his mortal men. Then he unclasped the girdle of her maidenhead and put her into a sleep. When he had achieved love's labor, he took her by the hand, calling her by name and saying, "Rejoice, O woman, in my love, and forasmuch as the couching of a deathless one is never barren, you will bear splendid children when the year has turned. Your task must be to care tenderly for these yourself. Till when, go home and set a watch upon your lips, not uttering my name. Yet know that I am Poseidon, shaker of the earth." He plunged beneath the frothing sea, and in due time she conceived and bore Peleus and Neleus. When they grew up, they both served Zeus heart and soul. Peleus, a sheep-master, lived in the plains of Locus, the other in sandy Pylos. It might be Iolcus, I'm not sure. The queenly woman also bore sons to Cretheus, Aeson and Pheres, and Amythaon, the chariot knight. Amythaon? I don't know. Amythaon? The chariot knight. After her, I saw Antiope, daughter of Aesopus. She boasted that she had spent one night clasped in Zeus's own encircling arms, and had 2 children by him, Amphion and Zethus. First founders of Thebes with 7 gates. Its fortifiers, too, for not even men of their might could dwell in that open domain, except it were walled and towered. After her came Alcmene, wife of Amphitryon, who, from the embraces of great Zeus, gave birth to lion-hearted Heracles, the bravely patient, and Megara came, the daughter of proud Creon, whom that strong and hardy son of Amphitryon took in wedlock. Oh my God. Like I said before, every chapter starts with a billion new names that I need to learn how to pronounce. I saw Epicaste, mother of Oedipodes. She in ignorance sinned greatly when she let herself be married to her own son, the son who murdered his father. Oedipus. Sorry. Yes. I saw Epicaste, the mother of Oedipus. She in ignorance sinned greatly when she let herself be married to her own son, the son who murdered his father. He it was that wedded her. Presently the gods made their state notorious to all men. By their dooming he must linger in distress as king of the Cadmeans in lovely Thebes, whereas she went down to Hades, that strong keeper of the gate of hell. She tied a running noose to the high beam across her hall and perished, mad with remorse, leaving her son alone to face all the pains and obloquy which the avengers of a mother can impose. Then came shining Chloris, whose amazing beauty made Neleus pay fabulous marriage gifts for her and wed her. She was the last daughter of Amphion, son of Iasus, once a great king in Orchomenius? Sorry, guys. Chloris became queen of Pylos, and amongst her famous issue were Nestor and Chromius and lordly Periclemenus, besides a daughter, Pero the Magnificent, a wonder of the world, whom all the neighbors wooed. But Neleus announced he would not part with her except to one who could recover from Phylace the cattle that great Iphiclus had taken. My goodness, it doesn't even read as a story right now. It's just me mispronouncing words. A hard task to win back these lurching broad-fronted beasts, so hard and dangerous that no one was found to try but the ingenious prophet himself, and he got no joy of it, for the gods visited his attempt upon him by driving him cruelly under guard of the boorish cowkeepers. Yet after lapse of time, as days and months were accomplished and the year revolved to perfect the destined hour, eventually did strong Iphiclus let him go when he had uttered all his soothsaying, that the purpose of Zeus might be fulfilled. I saw Leda, the consort of Tyndarus. She bore him 2 strong-willed sons, Castor, the breaker of horses, and Polydeuces, who was good with his fists. The pair are now under the fertile earth, yet in a sense alive by the great dispension of Zeus, who had endowed them with alternating life and death, to live one day and to die the next. Honors are paid to them even as to the gods. After Leda came the wife of Elois, Iphimedia, to say that she had slept with Poseidon and got by him 2 sons. Poseidon sounds not great. Short-lived, alas, but the tallest children that our quickening earth ever nourished on its bread, and the handsomest after peerless Orion. These were godlike Odyssey and far-famed Ephilates. At 9 years old, they were 9 fathoms high and 9 cubits across. Damn. I'll have to call you mispronounced. That's funny. Yes. I can't pronounce any of this. These were godlike Odyssey and far-famed Ephilates. At 9 years old, they were 9 fathoms high and 9 cubits across. They vowed to carry the din and shock of the battle into Olympus to spite the immortal gods. They strained to put Ossa on top of Mount Olympus, and Pelion with its shivering forest trees upon Ossa again, to be their stepping stones to heaven, and would have done it too, had they but come to a man's estate. As it was, Zeus's son by fair-headed Leto slew them both, their cheeks yet innocent of hair, their chins not shaded with the bloom of down. I saw Phaedra and Procris, also fair Ariadne, daughter of vicious Minos. Theseus was carrying her from Crete towards the fair hill of holy Athens, yet did not reap his enjoyment of her, because Artemis killed her first and sea-cradled Dia on the evidence of Dionysus. I saw Mera and Clymene, horrible Eriphyle and horrible Eriphyle too, she that took gold to sell her lawful husband. But how can I even name to you, much less describe all those I saw? I mean, I feel like he did his damnedest. There were so many wives of heroes, so many daughters. Before I ended my tale, the divine night itself would have worn through. Indeed, already it is time for sleep, though I know not if I should lie in the ship with the crew you have appointed me, or stay in the house. The hour of my starting rests in the hands of the gods and in your guardians' hands. Here Odysseus broke off his history, but the Phaeacians none the less stayed silent, spellbound as it were, amidst the dim-lit hall, till Arete, the white-armed, suddenly broke out. Now, Phaeacians, what think you of this man, the cut and scale of him, and his heart's poise? My stranger, look you, and my guest, though in the privilege of entertaining him all of you may share. Be in no haste to forward him hence, nor stint your gifts to so needy a man. Remember how the signal favor of the gods has filled your homes with treasure. After her rose the old hero Echenius, whose age made him august among the Phaeacians. My friends, not far off the point nor unbecoming are these words from the mouth of our prudent queen. Consider them favorably, yet with us must act and authority alike vest in Alcinous. The king cried back, So long as I am to have lordship in life amongst you, sea-faring Phaeacians, be it understood that the word of the queen holds good. Wherefore, however he may crave to get home, let the stranger possess him fairly till the morrow. Hi. Tomorrow I will round off the gifts he has received and complete his fortune. For his escort back, doubtless it is everybody's business, but mine especially, I being sovereign in this land. Odysseus answered him with judgment and said, Alcinous, famous lord, had you directed me to tarry a whole year more while you increased my gifts, with assurance of eventual passage, why I should placidly choose that course as the profitable course. The more nearly full my hands on landing, if I do attain my beloved country, the better held and esteemed I shall be of all who meet me in Ithaca. Alcinous loudly replied, O my Odysseus, we who have you before our eyes will not be persuaded that you are a pretender or thief, like those many vagrant liars our dark earth breeds to flourish and strut behind so thick a mask of falsehood that none can pierce it to read their worth. In your words is a formal beauty to match the graceful order of your ideas. You frame and bedeck this tale of the Argives' hardship and your toils as knowingly as any bard. Yet tell me one thing more, and let us have the truth of it. Did you see your comrades in the underworld, any of those godlike ones who served with you before Ilion, and there found death awaiting them? The night is still long, immeasurably long. No need yet to clear the hall for sleep. Wherefore, continue these marvelous histories. It's going to give me more names to mispronounce. I would listen till the full dawn here in the house, had you voice to set forth to me the tale of all of your woes. Odysseus answered, saying, Most famous lord, surely there is a time for long speaking and a time for sleep. But if you still ardently desire to hear me, I shall not spare you the recital of sadder things than any I have told, a history of the ultimate agony of ill-starred men who survived the Trojan battle and its death-dealing clamor only to perish at their journey's end by an evil woman's resolve. To my tale. From the herd of women ghosts, chaste Persephone at last delivered me, driving them off helter-skelter, and in came, despondent, the spirit of Agamemnon, son of Atreus. Round him were grouped the wraiths of those others who had fallen upon their fate and died with him in the house of Aegisthus. The chief knew me instantly, after he had drunk of the black blood, and greatly he sobbed, with tears running down his face. He stretched out his hands to me in longing to fold me to his breast, vainly, for no longer had he substance to stand firm or the vigorously free movements such as once had filled his supple limbs. When I saw this, the pity in my heart moved me also to tears, and I lamented. Most famous Adrites, my king of men, say now by what throw death the champion has flung at you, by what throw death the champion flung you at the last? Did Poseidon overwhelm you in your ship by rousing against you terrible gale upon terrible gale, or did foemen beat you down on the shore while you were cutting out their oxen and their goodly flocks of sheep, or disputing with them some walled city and its women? So I asked, but he replied, Odysseus, Poseidon excited against me not too great gale to destroy me and my ships, nor did savages slay me on any coast. Aegisthus achieved my dream and doom with the connivance and aid of my accursed wife, after inviting me to his house and setting me at table. Yes, I was killed feasting, struck down as one butchers an ox at stall, and glorious, pitiful death. They slaughtered my men around me one by one and laid them out like white-tusked boars, bridled for some banquet, or feast of peers, or wedding in a rich lord's house. You have stood by many killings in single combats or in melees, but never have you seen one gruesome as ours between the plenished tables, rounding the mixing bowl of wine, in a hall whose floor swam with blood. My bitterest pass was to hear the death shriek of Cassandra, Priam's daughter, whom Traideus Clytemnestra slew just over me. Verily, I tried to raise my hands for her, but they fell back to the earth again. I was dying then, dying upon the sword. The brutish woman turned her back, nor would spend so much pity, though I was fast on my way to Hades, as to draw down my eyelids with her hands or bind up my jaw. I tell you, there is not more awful and inhuman than a woman who can fondle in her heart crimes so foul as this conception of my wife's to murder the husband of her youth. I was coming home, promising myself the joyous greeting of my children and my household, and then she, by her depth of villainy, smirches the whole breed of womanhood forever and ever, even those yet unborn and virtuous. He ended, and I rejoined, Alas, and woe is me! From the beginning has wide-seeing Zeus dreadfully visited the seed of Atreus through woman's arts. What an army of us died for Helen, and now Clytemnestra spins this web of death for you, while you are far away. So I said, I'm not very comfortable. So I said, and he once again urged me, saying, Never be very gentle henceforward with your wife, Odysseus. Tell her only a part of anything you know, and hide the rest. Yet need you not look for a bloody death from your wife. Penelope is so careful, knowing, and of such excellent discretion, the dear daughter of Icarus. Let me see, a young wife was she not when we left her for the war? The infant then feeding at her breast may now be sitting with the men, one of them, a happy son to see his father's return and dutifully fold him into his arms. Upon my son Clytemnestra gave me no time to feed my eyes. Before he came, she slew her lawful husband. Now I will tell you something else to lay up in your heart. You must bring your ship to shore secretly and covertly in your beloved land. There is no putting faith in women. Rude. In return, do you tell me something bluntly. Have you heard of my son's activity, either at Orchomenius or in sandy Pylos, or guesting with Menelaus in Sparta? Noble Orestes has not yet died upon earth. Going here. Moderator for the channel because the bots and weird people are increasing nowadays. Got to keep the channel safe. That's a very good idea. And you are very right. The bots and the weird people are increasing. To his question, I returned, Atrides, why trouble me for news? I know not even if he is alive or dead, and touching life and death I will not vainly invent. As we two stood thus in a sorrowful talk, weeping freely, up came the ghost of Achilles, son of Peleus, with Patroclus and gallant Antilochus. Also Aias, the handsomest man and goodliest figure of the Danaans, except for Achilles himself, that swift-footed descendant of Aeacus, whose spirit recognized me and gloomily flung out, Ingenious son of Laertes, Odysseus of the seed of Zeus, daring unhappy soul, how will you find some madder adventure to cap this coming down alive to Hades among the silly dead, the worn-out mockeries of men? So he questioned bitterly, and I replied, O Achilles, son of Peleus, mightiest man of valor among the Achaeans, of dire necessity I came to hear from Tiresias how best to arrive back in rocky Ithaca. In all this time I have not neared Achaea nor seen my country. Ill luck dogs me everywhere. How I envy your lot, Achilles, happiest of men who have been or will be. In your day, all we Argives adored you with a god's honors, and now, down here, I find you a prince among the dead. To you, Achilles, death can be no grief at all. He took me up and said, Do not make light of death before me, O shining Odysseus. Would that I were on earth a menial, bound to some insubstantial man who must pinch and scrape to keep me alive. Life so were better than king of kings among these dead men who have had their day and died. Enough. Give me news of my admirable son. Did he get to the war and prove himself a leader, or not yet? Also of noble Peleus, if you have heard, do the Myrmidons still honor him, or is he despitefully seen from Hellas to Phthia, because old age has crippled his hands and feet? No longer can I stand up in the eye of day as champion, the prodigy who succored the Argives in the plains of Troy and brought death upon the stoutest Trojans. Oh, if I could be, just for the briefest moment, in my father's house, how I would make my great strength and invincible hands a reproach and horror to all those who forcibly led me from his glory. I also hope you're having a great day. I replied, Of illustrious Peleus I have not heard, but of your dear son Neoptolemus I can tell you the whole truth just as you wish. It was with me in my capacious ship that he came up from Scyros to join the panoplied Achaeans. So often as we banded counsel by the town of Troy, he would be quickest to speak, and spoke ever to the point. Godlike Nestor and myself were the only two to talk him down. And when we Achaeans joined battle in the plain of Troy, he would never rest in the rank or ruck of men, but dashed ahead, allowing no valor to outstrip his. He slew many men in mortal fight. I cannot remember even the names of all the chiefs who fell by his hand while he was aiding the Argive cause. But with what a sword stroke did he cut down Eurypylus, heroic son of Telephus, about whom died many of his Cetian company, victims of a woman's bribe. Goodness. That would be a good idea to get the moderator. Yeah. Royal Memnon apart, I saw no better man among them. Further, when the time came for us Argive leaders to mount into the horse that Appius built, they charged me with the responsibility of closing or opening the trap door of our crowded lair. The other chiefs and champions were wiping away tears and trembling in every limb, but though I gazed at him with my whole eyes, never once did his comely skin turn white or a tear need dashing from his cheek. Repeatedly, he begged me to let him sally forth from the horse, and he kept fondling his sword hilt and heavy spear blade in deadly rage against the men of Troy. After we had sacked the hill-built city of Priam, he departed in his ship with his full share of loot, escaping without a wound, for the flying shafts all missed him and the swordplay left him unhurt. The luck of war that was. Ares often fights too haphazardly to give each one his due. So I said, and the wraith of swift-footed Achilles strode with large strides across the field of Asphodel, exultant because I had told him that his son was famous. There hung about me others of the departed, each sadly asking news of his loved ones. Only with the spirit of Aias, the son of Telamon, kept aloof, he being yet vexed with me, for that I had been preferred before him, when by the ships we disputed the harness of Achilles, the arms which the goddess mother had set as prize, and which the son of the Trojans in Pallas Athene adjudged. Would I had not won that victory, since by it earth closed above so excellent a head. Verily, in sheer beauty of form and for prowess, great Aias stood out above every Danaan, the noble son of Peleus excepted. So to him I spoke very gently thus, Lord Aias, son of great Telamon, can you not even in death forget your anger against me over those cursed arms? Surely the gods meant them as a plague upon the Argives. What a tower fell in your fall! For you we Argives mourn as for our lost crown Achilles, because you died. Prime cause of it was Zeus, who in his terrible hatred of the Danaan chivalry laid upon you their guilty desert. Their guilty desert? I pray you, king, draw near to hear the things we say. Veil your fierce pride of heart. So I appealed, but he answered not a word, only went away towards Erebus with other spirits of the departed dead. Yet likely he would have spoken despite his wrath, or I to him again, only my heart was wishful to see other souls of the many dead. Thus I saw Minos, Zeus's illustrious son, with his golden scepter, enthroned in the broad gate of the house of Hades to judge the dead, who sat or stood before his seat inquiring of the king upon their sentences. I picked out, too, gigantic Orion, where he chased wild beasts across the meadows of Asphodel, ghosts of the same beasts he used to slay among earth's lonely hills. His fist brandished a club of solid copper, unbroken and unbreakable. I saw Tydeus, son of Gaia, the famous earth, lying outstretched over a flat ground. He covered 9 roods. A vulture sat each side of him and tore at his liver, piercing deeply even to the bowels. With his hands he might not drive them off. This was because he had maltreated Leto, the stately mistress of Zeus, as she went through park-like Panopeus toward Pytho. There, too, was Tantalus in sorry plight, put to stand chin-deep in a pool. He gaped with thirst, but could not reach the water to drink it. As often as the old man bent towards it in his frenzy, so the water disappeared, swallowed into the ground which showed blackly below his feet. A god made it dry. Over the pool, high foliaged trees hung down their fruit down to his head. Pears were there and pomegranates, rosy apples, sweet figs, and leafy olives. Yet every time the old man eagerly stretched out his hand to grasp, the wind would toss them cloud-high away. Another whom I saw in torment was Sisyphus, wrestling double-handed with a giant stone. He would thrust with hands and feet, working it towards the crest of his ridge, but when he was almost at the top, it would twist back irresistibly and roll itself down again to the level, the shameless stone. Once more he would go push and heave at it, with sweat pouring down his limbs and a dust cloud mantling higher than his head. Also I distinguished great Heracles, I mean his ghost. Himself is happy with the immortal gods at their festivals, with his wife Hebe of the slim ankles, the daughter of almighty Zeus and golden-shod Hera. About this ghost eddied the dead, clangorously whirling like wild birds this way and that in bewildered fear. He stood, dark as night, naked bow in hand and arrow ready on the string, glaring fiercely like one about to shoot. His breasts were bound with baldric, a striking work of solid gold, marvelously wrought with images, of bears, wild boars, and bright-eyed lions, of fights and wars, slaughters, and murderings of men. Its craftsman had surpassed him by putting into the design all his mastery. Never might he produce its peer. As soon as I came within range, Heracles knew me and greeted me compassionately. So you too, deep-witted Odysseus, are in the toils of ill luck and lead a life as cruel as mine was, while I subsided in the eye of the sun. I might be a child of Zeus, yet was my lot a misery beyond belief, for I was subjected to a man meaner than myself, who shamefully misused upon me inordinate labors. Why, he sent me down here to fetch their hound away. It was, he thought, the worst task he could devise. Yet I did it and carried the beast up from Hades to him, with Hermes to give me a start and grey-eyed Athene's help. Heracles spoke and went back into the house of Hades, while I lingered yet to see some of the long-dead antique heroes, for I was very desirous of such dim and distant ones as Theseus or Prethious, legendary children of the gods. But before they could come, there beset me 10,000 seely ghosts, crying inhumanely. I went pale with fear, lest awful Persephone send me from Hades the Gorgon's head, that fabulous horror. So I turned to my ship and told the companions to get in and let go the cables. They were quickly embarked and on their thwarts, when the current of the flood bore us down to the river of the ocean, along which at first we rode, but later found a helpful breeze. Okay, that is all for today. What's going on in here? Okay, that is all for today. We will be back tomorrow. We will do book 12. I will upload this on YouTube, which is the same name as this channel. KA Reads Classics. It's all one word. There's no space. And there's all kinds of other stuff up there as well. Have a great day. Thank you for reading with me. And keep singing. Bye.